Where? 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 Do you hear the difference between all those? It's the same word, right? Nothing's changing about the word, but there's a different feel in each of them, right? You get a different meaning from them. Maybe, for instance, one of them sounds a little bit more positive. Maybe one sounds more curious. Maybe one sounds more angry. Maybe one sounds more confused, even though it's the same word, just by playing around with the intonation. I was working with a student last night, one of our group coaching students, and we were trying to say one sentence the same way 3 times in a row. So it's just like pick any sentence. This is a great challenge for you as well, I think. Like just pick a sentence, any sentence, and try to say it 3 times the exact same way each time. So to give an example, like I go to school on Mondays. I go to school on Mondays. I go to school on Mondays. And we were trying to do this exercise and it proved to be very, very difficult. Like one time we would be like, I go to school on Mondays. Then we'd be like, I go to school on Mondays. And we'd be like, I go to school on Mondays. Like each of those sounds different, right? And what we also found was that each of them sounded different. However, when we were talking and we were trying to finish the exercise, we didn't even realize that we were saying each of them differently. We thought we were saying each of them the same. So I want to talk a little bit more about this and why this is significant for us. Good morning, guys. Good evening. Good afternoon. Welcome to your daily American English pronunciation show, which is Wake Up American. We are here Monday through Friday, typically between the hours of 7 to 8 a.m. to make sure that you can get in your 5 to 10 minutes of practice for today because that's what it takes. If you are here, if you found the channel, if you're checking us out, that's probably why you're here. You're learning a language, probably American English, and you're trying to focus on pronunciation, and you need to study a little bit every day. Okay, and to guide you in that process, there is me. Hello, guys. My name is Geoff. It rhymes with breath. That's one of the 4 keys to a natural sound in American English: clean placement, pitch, breath. Trying to weaken your consonant sounds in order to strengthen your vowel sounds, but perhaps the biggest tool that I can really recommend you use isn't anything that I have for you. It's not these streams, it's not the book, it's not the classes I have, but it's just, I really need you to get a recorder, which fortunately is free if you have a phone. And I imagine if you're watching this, you have a phone. You may even be seeing this on your phone. And I need you to really try to take time out of your day to record yourself for a couple minutes every day because going back to the original situation, if you are having trouble in a controlled space, for instance, again with my student, we were in a classroom. I was there, they were there, intentionally practicing and having difficulty just to say the same sentence the same way 3 times. If we're having trouble having control of our voice in a setting like that, well, then I think the next big question is, what are we doing when we're out in the wild, on the street, using English with people, talking with people? Because most likely what is happening is we think we're saying one thing. We think we're saying maybe, oh, how are you? Or we think we're saying, like, can I help you? But in reality, are we actually saying, how are you? Can I help you? Okay, I was working with another student. They were trying to um, ask, I believe, like a coworker or a colleague about working on a project. And they may or may not have liked the project, but they're trying to sound friendly enough talking to the colleague. But if you say, "Oh, do you need help with the project?" If you're ending up saying like, "Do you need help with the project?" Those are very different vibes. That first one, "Do you need help with the project?" Okay, a little bit more neutral, a little warmer, a little friendlier, and maybe that's how you actually feel. But if you end up saying, "Do you need help with the project?" Well, now what's happening is there's a lot of tension. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of negativity there, even though it's unintentional. So we really need to start paying attention to. I mean, obviously, vocabulary is really important in the words you use, but a lot of times people aren't going to remember the specific words that you're using, but they will remember how they leave that interaction with the emotion that you gave them or left them with. So we really need to be putting a lot of value and stock into, what is the emotional information that I am conveying to my listener? Am I conveying warmth, friendliness? Like for instance, talking with like kids. I imagine some of you out there are parents. I'm a parent. Sometimes kids like to test. They like to see what they can get away with. So at first, the first time they may try doing something you don't want them to do, you may be a little bit softer. What's up to Emmanuel? Good to see you, sir. So you may start off a little softer, a little higher pitch. Like for instance, like maybe they have a toy and you're like, hey, like okay, like let's put it down. Let's put it down. A little lighter. Okay. And then maybe they go for it again, and then no, you do. Maybe you go a little firmer, right? Put it down, put it down, and then things keep escalating, and then eventually you may get really angry, like put it down, and things like that, right? All of those again, the language is the same, it's always the same words, but what we're doing is we're doing things, we're changing the quality of our sound. Right, we're doing things like adding pauses. We're doing things like limiting breath through the throat. We're tensing jaws, or we're doing the opposite. Right, we're opening things up. We're going higher in pitch. So we need, just kind of being aware of the things that we're actually communicating. So how can we actually practice this? Because I would love to leave you with some practical tips. This is where shadowing things, for instance, that are a little bit exaggerated. We want to shadow not just like conversations, but we want to shadow conversations in emotional sorts of situations, shadowing situations where people are excited, shadowing situations where people are sad, shadowing situations where people are like confused, shadowing situations where people are angry. And when you're shadowing, a great source for this, I'm a big fan of shadowing things like cartoons because cartoons have those sorts of situations embedded into them because they're part of the story that they're telling. Whereas when you're doing an interview, there's not necessarily a set story, so they're not necessarily tapping into all those emotions. But when you're watching like a cartoon episode, there are very exaggerated situations, so you get all kinds of emotional language and strategies to practice. The other thing I would say too, as you're shadowing, is I wouldn't just record your voice. Even better, I think, would be recording yourself on camera. If you're willing to do that, it's just you. You're the only one that needs to see it. And I would encourage you to try to copy the body language. Cartoons are also great because they exaggerate all the emotions. So like if a character is shocked, they're not just shocked. They're like, like they go like all in on like the facial expressions and what the eyebrows are doing, what the eyes are doing, and like what the mouth is doing. So record yourself on video, also trying to imitate those things because it's all tied together. The body is tied to speech and how you sound as well. So those would be my big suggestions for you as you're trying to not only practice using all these strategies, but also using them intentionally at the times you want. Because right now there's a great chance that you're not conveying the information that you want to convey. But the biggest problem is that you don't even know that miscommunication is happening. Okay, especially across. It's hard enough to do it in your first language, let alone trying to learn those sorts of emotional cues in a second language. So just kind of continue paying attention to that, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for just taking the time to even consider thinking about this discussion. I would love to know if you have your own thoughts on what we discussed. It would be great to see them in the comments or in the chat. I do need to run, but I will see you all later. Hey, thanks for tuning in. There's a lot of pronunciation resources out there, so the fact you spent a little bit of time out of your day is greatly appreciated. Once more, my name is Geoff. It rhymes with breath. It's one of the 4 keys to a natural sound in American English, including placement, pitch, breath. Trying to weaken your consonant sounds in order to strengthen your vowel sounds. I will see you all later. Hope you guys have a good day. Have a good night. Have a good afternoon. Take care.